I want to offer a technique for working with addiction that I came to on my own and that worked for me. Kaleidoscope perception. So, whatever your whatever addiction you're dealing with in whatever form, um, it's not necessarily about the form of the substance that you're addicted to, whether it be compulsive eating or you're just obsessed with a person, or whether it be an intoxicant. Although working with intoxicants might be a bit different because there's also the effects of the intoxicant. Um, Although being obsessed with a person can be intoxicating too. It's this behavior of being out of control where we go into this mode that's unconscious and we're acting from there. Even though we consciously know what we want for ourselves, for some reason we keep repeatedly doing something we don't want to do and then suffering the consequences of it. And it gets to a point where it's destroying us. And so this is something that I came to that's worked for me. I'm going about my day, and then the thought will arise like, oh, I kind of want this thing, whatever it is, and I'll want it. And in addiction, I'll just go get it. There'll be something happens where I go from knowing I don't want to engage with this thing anymore to me going ahead and going and get it. There's this slip that happens where I just become unconscious. It's a matter of slowing down this moment where I am about to go act on this craving. So instead, when this craving comes up, this takes a lot of effort and discipline, and it'll take practice. Just sit down. You're about to go text this person, you're about to go open the refrigerator when you know you're not hungry. Instead of taking that action and just getting up, just as soon as you notice the thoughts and as soon as you notice that feeling, that pull to do that thing, just sit down, allow whatever feelings are coming up to come up. So you'll just feel these, you'll just be sitting with the feeling of craving. You're sitting with this feeling of wanting something so badly. It's like really intense, and just sit there for as long as you can. The first time and the first couple of times that you do this will be the most intense. I've sat there for a half an hour before finally getting up and buying myself a thing of strawberry ice cream and then eating all of it. But it was good for me to sit there that long. And because the next time the craving came along, it was weaker. And eventually I got to a point where as soon as this craving arises, I'd recognize it. I'd say, oh, this is addiction that's trying to trick me into that just this one time is okay. Even though I know this is in opposition to what I want for myself, I'd notice those thoughts coming up saying like, oh, it's okay, just go do that right now. Like, just for this one time, like, it's actually good for you right now. I'd recognize the thoughts, and then I'd sit with it and just feel the sensation of craving for it. And then it gets to a point where something breaks and I feel empowered. And so now what happens, because still like years after I've really been in the depths of some addictions, they'll still sometimes like the cravings will come up, but now I'm in the practice of recognizing them when they come up. So right away, just sitting and tuning into how I'm feeling, just sitting with the craving, and then very quickly it'll turn over to this feeling of empowerment where I'd given my power away to the substance. Now I feel like, yes, like as good as it feels to indulge in addiction, this feels really a lot better. It feels really good to say, no, like, no thanks, it's not what I want to create for myself. And something really important that I came to was being really nice to myself, because I know that this isn't something that I want to create for myself. I know I keep acting in opposition to what I'm trying to do, and so being hard on myself. And like there was a point in my healing process where I would write myself notes everywhere saying, don't do this, like don't indulge later, like just don't do that. And then I had to let that go because I was putting too much focus on the form of my behavior, which was like taking a substance or whatever it is. I was considering success as whether or not I indulged in my addiction. But actually, once I let that go, and I was just super nice to myself, whenever I did indulge, then I suffered the consequences, and I was nice to myself as I went through them. And instead of being hard on myself, just focusing more on like how loving can I be to myself, how understanding can I be to myself while I'm going through this. Because with an addiction, it's something that we've practiced for repeatedly over and over for days, for years. And so it's going to take some practice for us to get into these new habits of sitting with the really uncomfortable feeling of craving and not acting on it. You can do it. I did it. I remember there were times, many times, when I was like, I wonder if this will go on forever. And like, this can't go on forever. And so it just takes practice. And so be really gentle to yourself. Really, really. It's really just a matter of aligning with what you want, which is self-love and happiness and healing and feeling good. Also, as you come around to healing from your addictions, you might start to be confronted with really heavy shit, hard emotions that the addiction would cover over, that taking those substances, then you'd be dealing with the uncomfortable effects of the substances. Instead of dealing with your hangover because you drank too much, you'll be dealing with the emotions that propelled you in the first place to try to escape them. It's going to be challenging. Like, you might have some stuff in yourself to confront and really look at. You'll see that the addiction was taking up so much time in your life and so much of your energy, and now there's more space in your life. And at first it might feel like, oh, I have nothing to do, I might as well just go back to my addiction. And so it'll be a few transitions. It's not just breaking this compulsive habit, it's also gonna change your lifestyle a bit. So I hope this is helpful. Feel free to reach out to me, share, ask more questions. Kaleidoscope perception.